Welcome back. Once again, this is 2021 Darren Smith from the Ship Sports Radio 810 ESPN Kansas City and KLKC Radio, along with my guy, Mr. Steve Walls, host of the W. Of course, you can hear him every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. on 101.1 FM. We are back. We are back in the building this year, celebrating, of course, our return from 2020, which we were out last year doing the show on location. Welcome to the Kansas City Chiefs Cheat Sheet, our pregame show for the Kansas City Chiefs. We're live back at Arrowhead Stadium, returning once again. Steve, good evening to you, my brother. How are you?
Man, I'm doing very well. You know, it's kind of surreal right now because we spent. I was thinking on my way walking into the stadium. It's like, man, when's the last time we've been here? And I remember it was AFC Championship game 2019. It's been that long, but we are back here at Arrowhead today.
Yeah, and of course, we expect not a full capacity crowd because it's just a preseason. It is the only preseason game for the Kansas City Chiefs, their own home game, which means they have 9 regular season games this upcoming season. But tonight at 7 o'clock p.m. on a Friday night lights, the Kansas City Chiefs will be hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Kansas City comes into this game with the 2-0 record. Of course, of the Minnesota Vikings, they are 0-2. Chiefs starters are expected to play the majority, if not all, of the first half, according to Andy Reid this week. Steve, your thoughts on the fact that Andy Reid said, hey, just like last week, look for the starters to play the first half, possibly even the opening drive in the third quarter.
You know, when you look around the league and you find out and you see some of the other games that, have taken place over this past 3 weeks, and it's like, oh, well, Baker Mayfield isn't playing. Then that gives you a hair scratcher. Then you look over at the Chargers and you see their quarterback isn't playing. So there's a lot of back and forth. Should these guys be playing? Should they not be playing? You have a $500 million quarterback on your roster. Should he be out there taking the necessary, hits possibly? But then you think about that they need to get some camaraderie with this offensive line. You talked about it every week that we've done this show, that Patrick Mahomes needs to become more familiar. They need to understand his cadence and things like that. So I definitely agree. But here's the thing about it. If you're going to have Patrick out there, you don't want him taking any unnecessary risks. And if you guys remember last week when Patrick, had the 3-yard run for a first down, he took an unnecessary hit. And so that's one of the things that you have to explain to him, like, hey, I'm going to keep you out there, but you don't need to take any unnecessary risks.
Well, look, I get it. But as Andrew said, Patrick's a football player. It's hard to keep a caged lion locked up there. When he sees it open, as he saw last week a couple of times against Arizona Cardinals, he's going to take off if it means going to get the first down. Like you, as long as it's not a design play, I don't really have a problem with it because I think, the good thing about Patrick is that by him doing what he's doing, and this is why I agree, and I always say that the players should play leading up and building up to the start of regular season. Because if you look at a player like Baker Mayfield, who's going to be in the Kansas City on the 12th, look at the Dak Prescott. They haven't taken any hits. And so, in Dak Prescott's issue, he hasn't taken a hit in 11 months. Baker Mayfield hasn't taken a hit since January.
They lost here last year.
Yeah, exactly. so when you look at it, do you really want the first time that you actually get some live action and you hit the ground and you haven't had a chance to train your body how to fall and really, hit the ground and absorb that punishment the first game of the season? That's why I think it's important for Patrick to play. Now he doesn't obviously have to play the whole game, but getting the reps in and getting. And again, like just having the fact that you got 5 new offensive linemen who've never played together before until now, you want them to get as many reps as possible to get a feel of how Patrick Mahomes is. If he decides he's going to run, their pass protection with Patrick in the background running, or if they're going to try to get the line open as they did a few times with Clyde and Hilaire, some of the other running backs open up big games and holes for those running backs to run through space.
And here's the only caveat to that. Practice makes perfect. But you can throw, like I've been saying, myself or you could be out there, right, and play quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and the offensive line will still have the same objective. They need to block for us and don't let us get touched by the defense. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, what they need to do. They still need to create holes no matter what running back is in there. And even if you look at today, there's no Clyde Edwards-Helaire, there's no Darrell Williams. So who will they have running back there? They'll have Jerick McKinnon and also Darwin Thompson and Derek Gore. So no matter what, even though you don't have your starting running back playing, there's still other backs, and their objective is still going to be the same: block and do your job.
Well, I'm gonna say this. One of the things that I do enjoy about preseason is that you get a chance to see players who don't normally play, Steve. They get a chance to get these reps. Again, you mentioned Clyde was a Laird, Daryl Williams. We might not even see Frank Clark tonight. So my question would be not to you per se, but to those backups who get the chance to play. What are you going to do with the opportunities? Because you got to remember, there was a slight chance that Darwin Thompson and Derek Gore may not make this team because of the injuries to the top two running backs. Here's your opportunity to give Andy Reid and company a reason to keep you on board and make sure that you don't either get waived or go to the practice squad. So that being the case, again, Jake McKinnon and Darwin Thompson, they'll get a lot of reps tonight in today's game. So for that to, for them to have this opportunity, they need to make the most of it in the short time that they have, because this is the only game that they have left before the cuts come on Tuesday.
And I agree. You know just as well as I do. Eric Bieniemy has talked to you about it, and that they always coach their backups to be starters. Now, let's just say we don't know how bad that the ankle sprain is for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So Andy Reid said last week that it's not a high ankle sprain, which is good, but we don't know how bad it is. And also Daryl Williams, we don't know how significant how serious his injury is as well. So, but they're not playing tonight, so that's going to leave at least one spot open for one of these running backs. So if you have three guys that's battling, you understand that you're battling for one spot. You're going to have to give it all that you've got, and you're going to get plenty of reps tonight. You have 4 quarters to show that you need to be on this team. But the on the flip side of that is when you look at these three guys, Derek McKinnon, Darwin Thompson, and Derek Gore, who's the guy that knows the plays? Who's the guy that's familiar with this atmosphere? It's Darwin Thompson. But the only thing about Darwin is that he's been out. He was out early with the first 2 weeks of training camp, so he started a little bit behind, and so I don't know if that was kind of frowned upon, while they were in training camp. But we'll see. He has his opportunity tonight, and hopefully he does what he needs to do with it.
I agree with you 100%. Now, look, the thing that a lot of fans are going to be paying attention to tonight is to play the wide receiver, Steve. Now, we heard this week from Dave Toll. Now, I initially thought he was joking when he said that DeMarcus Robinson drives him nuts. But listening to how he continued on, he was very serious about DeMarcus Robinson. So, DeMarcus goes into year 5 along with Patrick, of course. And so, with that being the case, we get a situation to where he could be the actual veteran. That position could be on the line in tonight, after tonight's game. But not only that, you look at Fountain, you look at Kemp, you look at some of these other players. Which one of these players do you think plays a big role in tonight's game that may make the difference between it being cut next week and making the 52-man roster?
We know, and Chiefs fans know who's going to be on this squad. You got Mecole Hardman, DeMarcus Robinson. We don't look at him as a receiver, but he definitely is a receiver. He's listed as a tight end, but he's definitely the second receiver, if not the first receiver, and that's Travis Kelce. We know who those guys are, and of course Tyreek Hill. But then you have, like you said, Marcus Kemp. I think he would definitely make the team. It's been a couple of years that he's he was on the practice squad, then he was injured, and the injury that year, the year that he was injured, I think he was on his way to make the team, and he would have been the 4th wide receiver on the team that year. So Cornell Powell, if that's a guy that I have to underline, he has to make something happen tonight. Even though he's a rookie, he still has a high ceiling. Maybe he's one of the guys that slid over to the practice squad, but I think Marcus Kemp, he's going to be the one that's going to make the squad. The other guys, they just have to show what they can do. Otherwise, you're going to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and look, last week, Darius Fountain, played a good game, had some great catches. But Cornell Powell, like you said, the Chiefs really do not cut their draft picks, especially in the first year. Cornell Powell and Noah Gray, I think Noah Gray is kind of second. I mean, Cornell Powell is the one player that that the Chiefs have drafted that I'm afraid may not make the squad, especially if he didn't have a big game in tonight's game.
Yeah, it just depends. The Chiefs when they drafted him, they knew what he could do when he was at Clemson. To me, and I said this day one at training camp, it's like, okay, you're running number 14. Who has worn the number 14 the past 3 years for the Kansas City Chiefs? That's Sammy Watkins. What school did he come from? So it's like, all right, you're out there, you look like Sammy, but are you able to play and catch the ball like Sammy? Here, and we know Andy Reid's offense is very complex. We know Andy Reid's training camp is not the easiest in the league. So with all that being said, this is still new. This is still new to him. He's given if we look at it like this, he's giving Nicole Hardman a long leash, a very long leash. So I would see Cornell Powell being able to make this team.
Look, I want to look at on the defensive side of the ball. Of course, we are under 30 minutes, 25 minutes before kickoff. The game will be shown locally on the KSHB Channel 41, nationally on the NFL Network. The Chiefs, the prime time matchup against hosting the Minnesota Vikings right here at Arrowhead Stadium. Steve, looking at the defensive side of the ball, with the addition of Jan Reed, now that is the one player and one position I'm going to be focused on in tonight's game because his addition has allowed Steve Spagnuolo to do a lot of creative things. Obviously, moving Chris Jones to the left defensive end. Frank Clark might not play tonight because we get a chance to see what Mike Dana and his replacement and his substitute, see what he's able to do with the coach team. But I do like the fact that because you bring Jerry Reed in, Steve has been able to be creative in his improvement because we saw last week Colin Saunders playing linebacker. Now, of course, Saunders has said that he doesn't mind being, rotational player along with some of the others. But if he's able to get some snaps even at linebacker, that makes him more valuable to the team as well. So your thoughts on the fact that Jerry Reed, his addition to the team, what are you looking forward to in tonight's matchup on the defensive side of the ball?
Here's the thing about what Jaron Reed does. He opens up everything for everyone else. When Chris Jones came into the league, he was going to be that right down middle. Where Jaron Reed is right now. Now they've been able to slide him outside. Chris Jones has lost some body fat. He's moving well for a big guy. And you see what all the offensive lineman has said about Chris Jones. He's making us better. And I think Chris Jones is very hungry. There was a stat that came out. You're a betting guy, so there was a stat that came out yesterday or something on Twitter that said if you're gonna bet, I think Chris Jones is high on. I think it's like plus 350 or something like that to win Defensive Player of the Year. Now, can he do it? I don't know, but I'm sure he saw that bet, and he's a friend of our show, so for sure he's watching this. But here's the thing as well. It's not only the guys down front that are making things happen, but it's also the linebackers. When you look at Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, and then you also have Anthony Hitchens, a guy that is on he's going to be playing for a contract next year. So I just think this defense, Steve McNullo, is going to have them ready to play.
Steve Walls, Darren Smith bringing you the Chiefs cheat sheet. We are live at Arrowhead Stadium. Final preseason game of the season. The only home game for the Kansas City Chiefs as they take on the Minnesota Vikings. Steve, looking at the defensive back, that's of course something that fans have had question marks going into the training camp as we exit out. But Javarius Ward, Legarius Sneed, Mike Hughes, Dan Sorensen, Tyron Matthews, that looks to be key. But Juan Thornhill had a big game last week. As we talked to Spags this week, it doesn't change, even though he had the big interception in the end zone, doesn't change his position on the depth chart with the Kansas City Chiefs. But both PT, some of the other players, again, how many players do you think they actually keep? Because we look at DeAndre Baker, we look at Armani Watts, other players that are trying to make the squad. Those are two former first-round draft picks that the Kansas City Chiefs acquired over the last couple of seasons. What are you seeing out of this defensive backfield?
Look, here's the deal. A lot of people made a big deal about Juan Thornhill. He came off of an ACL injury last year. He played injured. I really feel like after he tore his ACL and it was at 2019, wasn't able to play in the Super Bowl. He wanted so bad to be ready to go last year, and he did everything he could over off season. And he battled. He really did, and he even said it. He wasn't able to make the plays that he normally would. He'd be this close. And he even said Tyrann Mathieu, a guy that's torn both of his ACLs and both knees. So he talked to him and he said, "Hey, there's going to be some times that you're going to be able to want to make some plays and not going to be able to do it." And he made a play yesterday, and I think that really boosted his confidence. But to answer your question, I think that L'Jarius Sneed, Mike Hughes, Bo P. Keys, and DeAndre Baker will be, and also can't forget Travaris Ward. Travaris Ward, they will be the five that will make the team.
Now, Steve, we've gotten a chance. We've had the privilege of covering the Chiefs. I feel like I'm dating myself, but we've been covering the Chiefs for a long time, at least 2012, 2013. I know your answers. I've been covering the Chiefs since my sophomore year in high school, off and on, up until I think 2007. I've been covering them ever since.
Right.
We've had the opportunity to cover the last two Super Bowls for the
Right.
Chiefs, one win, one loss. As we go into the regular season after tonight's game, the team they have a bye week, which is something that was instituted when they look at the 17th game. If you're Andy Reid after tonight's game, how are you I guess trying to, with this bye week coming up, getting the players, allowing them to have time off, but also kind of gradually building them to get them prepared for the start of the regular season.
Here's the thing: if you know one thing about Andy Reid, he's able to have guys. He knows what's best for guys. And we're looking at this as a bye week, a traditional bye week. He's well off of his numbers are great off after a bye week. So he's going to have a lot of time that's going to be able to be had to plan for the Cleveland Browns, and he's going to give the guys enough time. And I don't think that they're going to be able to go as hard as they were during training camp because listen, I talked about it earlier. His training camps are not easy, and they're going to be ready to play. Put it to you that way, because Patrick has already put it out there that this team is going 20-0. So they're going to have to ride with him.
We talked a little bit ago about special teams when we mentioned Dave Tobin talked about his comments about DeMarcus Robinson, but we haven't really seen McCall Hardman, obviously Tyreek Hill, Byron Premium returning kicks. We've gotten a chance to see Mike Hughes, again DeMarcus Robinson. What is it that Dave Tobin is trying to find, with these other players who are returning kicks that he doesn't already know or hasn't already seen?
Yeah, Aaron, this. You're always one play away from an injury, from a fumble, so everybody has to always stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. And I think that's what Dave Tobe wants to make happen. He wants all these guys to be ready just in case their number is called, and he also wants to just see what they have because you have guys like Mike Hughes who he hasn't seen before with his coaching style. So I think he just wants everybody to be ready. We all know that if it's needed, they'll throw Tyreek Hill back there and tell Tyreek to go make a play.
We talk a lot about Patrick Mahomes and deservedly so, and Travis Kelce to an extent, Tyreek Hill as well. But I want to go back to the offense and focus on the rookie side of the offensive line, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Lucas Niang. They were talking obviously that Mike Remmers, if healthy, he might get that position back. But I really don't see anyone trying to knock Lucas off in the end game off the starting line. What have you seen from these three rookies, and what gives you confidence that they're going to be every bit as good, not only as advertised, but as Chiefs fans hope?
Here's the thing, they're coming in with a lot of confidence. Andy Reid I'm sure he's put them to the side and said, hey, this is what needs to be done. You guys, of course, have heard what happened last year. So we're putting a lot of trust in you guys to guard our $1 billion man. And I think their play style and Patrick's play style, they match really well. And face it, Patrick isn't old by any means. So he's relatable. He's an approachable guy. He even said that he took these guys to a Royals game. So I think they've meshed really well, and even being away from Kansas City up in St. Joe, which was really important. So I think they've meshed really well, and they're going to be ready to go. But here's one thing that when we talked to Creed Humphrey, or what was it earlier this week, that Creed said, it kind of stuck with me. He said, Patrick has definitely told us to go out there and play our game, and that's what we're going to do. And even asking Creed, Patrick has the ability to extend plays. We all know that, right? So Creed asking Creed, it was like, okay, have you had to adjust your game at all to kind of be fulfilling for Patrick? And he said, no, I just go out there and play and continue to play my game. So I think they'll all be ready to play.
Steve, before we get out of here, prior to our broadcast, we've got a chance, Kansas City Chiefs got a chance, along with members of the media, to honor a dear friend of ours who passed away earlier this year, Therese Paylor. Of course, Therese was a beat writer for the Kansas City Star, along with a national NFL writer for Yahoo Sports, along with being a Hall of Fame voter, along with being a friend. Of course, he also was on the radio over at our competitor, 610 Sports. But got a chance to meet his mom, his fiance, his father. Again, the Chiefs. They spoke highly of him. We saw the video. With a lot of people who spoke highly of Therese. We also heard, of course, our colleague Herbie Gilbert from the Kansas City Star speak glowing and eloquently. Before we get out of it, what was some thoughts that you had of Therese during this time on this earth?
Man, Therese, he definitely was. If I could sum Therese up in 2 words, he was a smooth talker. He really was, man. And I have to this day haven't been able to figure out how he was able to just get his point across while talking smooth, very smooth. And he would be able to ask some real tough questions, but he'd be like, "Hey, Andy, what's going on, man?" And I'd be like, "Man, I wanted to be able to learn how to do that." And I asked her, I was like, "Man, how do you?" Just like I said, get your point across while being able to be so smooth while doing it. He's like, man, it just repetition, repetition. He's definitely one of the best writers that I've ever read, and journalists that I've ever read. So man, he basically he was an approachable guy. Even I spent some time with him down in Orlando. You know the story. I won't go over it again, but he's one of a kind, man. He definitely will be missed.
I will say, for me, I'll never forget when Therese Paylor. I can't remember if it was Houston or if it was Atlanta when I was on Radio Row, and he was around. I said, "Man, can I get an interview with you?" And this was early grinding days when people know, I'll be grinding. So again, he was at 610 at that time. I know I was on my parcel station here at KC, and his thing was like, "Well, we're competitive, blah blah blah." He said, "But I'll come and I'll do the show because it's you." And so that meant a lot because he didn't have to. And we both shared a love and affinity of pro wrestling. I know people like, man, it's fake, it's real, but when you a kid and you that's honesty. When somebody grew up and we still kind of watch, still talk about the movies and stuff like that. I mean, it was something that brought us together. We were both graduates of Stroke Black College University, and so it was stuff like that that brought us together. Look, like you said, he loved football. He loved to talk the talk. He loved to get the two sides. That really, just meant a lot to me. But I remember we talked and text a couple of days before he passed away, and so I still have his text messages in my phone and iPad. So I haven't been able to delete it or anything like that. But he's somebody who was genuine, straight shooter, told you like it was, and I mean we had to respect him. So he will be missed, as I told his parents. Because he passed away in the sleep. I had sleep apnea because at the time before I started Wells, I was 335 pounds, and people talk about my weight loss, but you have to understand, you know, I look back at some of my photos, Steve, from just from last year. I was big. I was big, and so knowing that and knowing that tomorrow's not promised to you, it kind of woke me up and made me want to have a little lifestyle change. So dropping 65, 70 pounds and with a little more to go, I'm thankful that, well, I'm hurtful that it took that to kind of move me, but if it hadn't, I might not have I might not have, gone on the journey that I'm on. So with that, we salute Therese Paylor, his life. We salute you, the Chiefs. To their credit, they have retired his seat, which, I guess nobody's ever been able to sit there. Again, I'm not sure how that's going to work, but they had a plaque. They donated $10,000 to his scholarship fund up at Howard University. And thus far, they raised over $100,000. So, all that being said, Once again, Kansas City Chiefs take on the Minnesota Vikings tonight, Arrowhead Stadium. Kickoff is a little under 12 minutes to go before kickoff. Again, the game will be seen nationally on the NFL Network. There'll be a simulcast of the local network of KSHB Channel 41. Steve, before we get out of here, let people know who you think's going to win tonight's game. Do the Chiefs cover the point spread, and they're over under 35.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs gonna come out fired up. Wins or losses, preseason, who cares, right? But no one has won the Super Bowl from just winning, going undefeated, in preseason. So I can't say that. But here's the thing: I think the ones are going to come out here and do their job, and it's going to be left up to the twos and threes to make up for them, and come out here and win the game. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I haven't heard yet if the starters for Minnesota will play. But that's left to be seen. But here's the thing: I think they'll cover the spread. But did you bet on them?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think they'll cover the spread.
I got to cover the spread. I got to go under. They've only scored 19 points the last two games. Minnesota hasn't scored any points. I'm going the under, hoping they win. Steve, before we get out of here, let people know where they can find your social media and where they can tune in to hear you tomorrow.
Hey, you can catch the W Show tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. to noon, 100.1 FM. Follow myself on social media at Steve Walls KC. Catch the W Show at the W Show KC. Like us on our social media platforms.
And of course, you can tune in on Sunday morning, Sports Radio 18 WHPD, The Ship with Darren Smith. I'll be on from 9 to 11, and then Monday through Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. on ESPN Kansas City with Darren and Sterling. Also, you can hit me up on Twitter at Darren Smith WHB. For Steve Walls, I am Darren Smith. We will be back live at 2 o'clock p.m. Sunday, September 12th, as we kick off the 2021 regular season as the Chiefs host the Cleveland Browns. Steve Walls and I will be with you the entire season at home and on the road all the way through the Super Bowl 56, bringing you the best coverage, pregame, postgame coverage for the Kansas City Chiefs that we have to offer. So until then, thanks so much for joining us. Go Chiefs, we are out of here.